City of Medicine Hat's fun when it's growing and things are happening. But also we can look at spending. We can look where we're not receiving value. We can look where we're having inefficiencies, and I certainly have some ideas with that.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch, brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. And joining me on the porch this time is former mayor candidate Drew Barnes. Welcome, Drew.
Oh, Brian, thanks for talking to me today.
Yeah, the last time we talked, you were in the heat of the campaign.
I was. It was a good campaign. It was a fun campaign. I'm grateful for all the support I received, and grateful for the opportunity for Medicine Hat.
And now what have you been doing in the interim?
Grandkids and some of my business interests, and spending time with my wife, Frances. Medicine Hat's such a great place to be.
It is, even if it is snowing outside. We do
Today.
Need the snow, yes. You, like me, were following the last meeting of City Council, which was, boy, you talk about an information dump. There was an information dump there. The tri-annual report, which comes out, I think, 3 times a year, the end of April, the end of August. So that was the second one. And when I was watching it, and as I listened to what was going on, I was like the guy in the Trivago commercial, where they're checking out, and the one guy is paying $500 for his room, and the other guy's paying $250, and he goes, "What? Wait, how?"
Yeah, you want to be the guy paying $250.
Well, the key metric in my head was like, we've got 8 years of reserves, and we're going to be out of money. And I went, "What? Wait, how?"
Yeah, it was shocking. I'm kind of wanting to start though with 3 things. Very, very grateful for the support I got a month ago in the municipal campaign. Tens and tens of people told me at the doors that they couldn't absorb another 5.6% property tax increase before their assessments may go up and before the province may increase the education portion of your property taxes again. It was sad, Brian, when seniors told me they might have to sell their houses, or they were planning on it even, and younger families especially that needed more income for their affordability. So that's where it starts with, is we need City Council and the mayor and the city staff to be cognizant of where our citizens are at. Secondly, there is a situation where the desire for growth in the city, the fact that we have this great electric generation license, we can use that to attract industry. We need some kind of reasonable, manageable growth to increase that mill rate and make things happen. And then thirdly, and maybe most pertinent to this discussion in the last city council meeting, was the reserves. If we're going to burn through, $28 or $30 million of operating reserves in the next 8 years, and then look into even higher substantial property tax increases, which we may face anyway this year because of some other spending, let's look at a way to address those sooner rather than later. And if we can't do it with growth, let's look at getting our spending in line. And that's what citizens told me. They not only felt they couldn't afford another 5.6 plus tax increase, a lot of them didn't feel they were seeing value for this increase in taxes.
Yeah. You have been on the bandwagon, I guess. You probably built the bandwagon, even back in your days when you were in MLA, as you were always talking about fiscal responsibility. And here we are now, and it's staring us right in the face. Should the city be using its reserves, I guess, is the question, to keep the taxes down? Is that the only option that we have?
Oh, no, it's not the only option to grow and increase our mill rate. Our tax base is the easiest option and maybe the funnest option. City of Medicine Hat's fun when it's growing and things are happening. But also we can look at spending. We can look where we're not receiving value. We can look where we're having inefficiencies, and I certainly have some ideas with that. We're so fortunate, though, to have this electric generation license. First of all, the opportunity to provide reliable generation of electricity in a world of cell phones and data centers and cryptocurrencies. That's a real opportunity for Medicine Hat. So let's go sell that and see what we can do. Secondly, when it comes to the spending and the reserves, I think it was over the last 3 years that we made approximately $300 million generating electricity and selling it to the rest of Alberta on the grid. Tens and tens of millions of that was put into separate reserve accounts. $75 million for getting ready for the energy transition, another 75 million for abandonment of wells, the reclamation of those. Of course, that has to be done. And then some more into our generational fund. That money was recently put in there. So I think it's okay at this point to look at taking some out, especially the 25 to 30 million that it's generating per year in net revenue. So my plans in the campaign were 3 years of no property tax increases. I think the best way to do that is to look for savings every day, but use the reserves in the first year, and by year 2 and 3, let's get our spending in line and let's get some growth.
We have to get some growth, and that was one of the key issues in the election campaign was economic development. But boy, in the last 4 weeks, I haven't heard a lot about that. Now, I didn't hear much about that around the council table in their discussions a week ago either. It seems to be again forgotten.
Yeah, it's too bad, and it's sad. And of course, we've heard about a couple of retail stores closing in the last while, and that's going to maybe accelerate. But one of the reasons I like the idea of the 3-year property tax increase freeze is it gives the mayor and council something to sell. We've got the best people. We got great weather. We're a great community. But sometimes it takes a bit more than that when it comes to attracting investment in business. Brian, I also believe that this potential up to $700 million investment in a solar farm using potentially all of our reserves plus incurring some debt is going to scare away investment just because it's a future potential tax burden. So I think City Council needs to end that sooner rather than later.
One of the items that they were discussing at the meeting was the $16 million that they had to add, I believe, to a fund to, I guess, pay for a new substation. Is that good money?
Yes, that is good money. Our electric generation is essential. I understand that because this was delayed, because it was a bureaucratic process through the provincial government as well, that we weren't able to take advantage of some opportunities in the south part of the city, maybe especially residential development opportunities, but nonetheless still opportunities. So the substation needs to happen. In a world of increasing demand for electricity, we need to be the leaders in generating and selling to the rest of Alberta and Canada and providing affordable electricity for all Medicine Hat.
That is the key, is that we, the people, own that utility, and everybody says, how come we're paying, the rates that we're paying? But at the same time, we also have to maintain that system. We can't kill the golden goose.
Oh, absolutely. Upkeep is necessary. An eye on a long-term strategic vision, so make sure we take advantage of our opportunities is important as well. And the fact that the city was a bit behind on this substation, it's unclear to me whether it was the city's fault or the AUC's fault or the province's fault. But let's get it done now, and let's roll along. But we also have to be mindful of the fact that in a world of data centers and cryptocurrency, which are virtually the same thing, if we can attract job-providing manufacturers or income providers to Medicine Hat, because of that, let's do it. And we need a strong relationship, a strong partnership with the provincial government for that to, if we need to look at the limits of our electricity generation exemption license. And we have the opportunity right now with Premier Smith as one of our 2 MLAs.
Did we not do this 2017, 2018 with the HUD 8 when they came in?
We did something.
An example of what we did?
Yeah, exactly. We that's a good example. And it's provide HUD 8 and a sister style company up there is provided jobs and opportunity and got us on the map a bit. What we've done with it since, I'm unsure. I haven't heard anything. But let's use that as a base to expand on.
Are we not too late to the dance on this now, though? Because others have been busy screwing around getting their ducks in order.
Of course they have. When's the second best time to start? If you didn't start in the past, start today. Yeah. See where we're at. We've got a mayor and 8 new councillors for the most part, and we've got city staff. Let's go find out what the opportunities are.
What do you think is the future of natural gas? Because we have been seeing now, they want to start exporting natural gas off of the BC coast, and I've seen some people who think that the price of natural gas, the value of natural gas, is going to come back up again.
I absolutely believe it's coming back up again. natural gas stocks on the stock exchanges. The prices of most of these companies is very strong right now, particularly in America, where they have access and a different regulatory environment. I saw it at $4.45 3 or 4 days ago on the long-term price. And, Medicine Hat's in great shape there. We've, our gas field is overworked and under pressured for sure, but we still have 65,000 customers here in Medicine Hat, plus Redcliffe and Cypress County, and we have opportunity there too. And again, let's not forget that that's what built this city.
It is the gas city.
Gas city, Brian, and also though, when the price of gas falls, that just means that we can use a higher margin to turn natural gas into electricity. And I will say our electricity generation department has been very good at that the last 2 or 3 years, and let them continue.
Now, the city embarked on a path a couple of years ago to shut down some wells. Maybe time to revisit that as well. Instead of closing them in and spending money to abandon them, maybe get them back into production again.
Yeah. I on the campaign, I heard so many tales and stories about inefficiencies, about low producing wells that could have still had some life. So it's hard for me to know exactly what's accurate for sure. But I think somebody, and again, council and the mayor with a objective, fair-minded opinion needs to look at that and see what our opportunities are.
Okay. Now, when we take a look at one of the issues that they talked about, and they only talked about it very briefly, and I think it was Councillor Young who brought up the full-time equivalencies of how many people work at City Hall, and he was scratching his head trying to get a handle on it. He said, corporations can tell you, like right now, how many people they have, and the city was like, well, they're doing their gazintas and stuff, and they have to get back to us. Did you hear anything during the campaign about how many people are working for the city of Medicine Hat and whether we are overbalanced in terms of the number of people we're employing or we need more?
Yeah, I heard lots of stories about inefficiencies and underutilization of good people for sure. I heard almost 1,600 employees, and for a city this size, that's mind-boggling. I believe it's something like 70 positions that are unfilled right now, and then there's a considerable number of non-union managerial positions. So again, I think to prevent tax increases, property tax increases, and help our neighbors that really need it, one of the first things to do is let's make sure that those 69 positions that are unfilled are necessary to fill. Let's make sure, Brian, that money hasn't been put into the budget and isn't retrievable. I mean, if the position's empty, that money doesn't have to be spent and should be returned to the taxpayer for this year's budget. Let's look at the necessity of those managerial positions. Let's make sure that they're productive, necessary, and adding value for the taxpayer. And then I would also say that the number compared to other municipalities is high. I would encourage the mayor and the council and our good city managers to come up with a early retirement potential for city employees. Let's be fair to everybody that works there, absolutely. But if somebody's close to retirement or wants to take an earlier retirement and take a small package, and we can prove that we don't have to replace that person, let's offer some incentive and let's start to get the size of the city in line with a city that hasn't grown in 10 years until somebody can return some growth.
The other metric that jumped off the page was the severance payments, and I know a lot of people on social media were going, what? Yeah. We're paying 9 people $1.1 million in severance? And again, back to the Trivago. What?
What? Yeah.
How?
Yeah. It seems unfair compared to what's available in the private sector. It seems a burden on the taxpayer at a time that, again, property taxes are going up at a time that the affordability crisis is hitting us all front and center. I think that those contracts have to be reviewed. I think we need a new mechanism and a new situation so severance is more fair.
When we look at the other shoe that has to fall now, the utility rates that they're going to be setting in December, the one that really has got people's hackles up is the municipal consent access fee. I know that you have lots to say on that.
I sure do, and people should be upset about it. It's just a tax. It's normally in a situation in a town that doesn't own their own electric generation, their own utility, and they charge an access fee for EPCOR, ENMAX, Direct Energy, whomever to come in and provide the electricity. Medicine Hat, we don't have a choice where we can go to. In the long run, though, we have this great opportunity to generate electricity for the rest of Alberta and make money off it. We have this opportunity to provide lower costs for Medicine Hatters and Medicine Hat businesses. I think that municipal consent access fee, the MCAF fee, has to be eliminated. It's just a tax. And again, with the $150 million put into reserves for getting ready for energy transition and abandonment of wells, perhaps we can use that as an offset until we can get our spending in line.
Really, because the MCAP pays for people who are already working, doing jobs on the city payroll, so it's like they're double dipping.
That's a good comparable. It sure is. Brian, you know how many times I heard on the campaign knocking on doors where people would say, "You see my utility bill. My fees are higher than my usage."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I ask my kids to be respectful. I be as respectful as I can, and I can't save because my fees are set. And how is that a world that's anything environmentally friendly? That's not fair, and it's not affordable. So let's have the courage to make that change.
Here's another example. I know you can't change it, but I'm on a condo board, and I see our utility bill for the city to pay for our whole complex, and there's a municipal consent access fee there. And then my individual utilities, there's also the municipal consent. I'm paying twice, so now they're almost quadruple dipping out of my pocket.
Yeah. There's, condos a great way for a lot of us older people to live, and there's just been so many inequities. So I remember when the province years ago put in a subsidy for high electricity rates, they were unable to get it to condos that weren't individually metered, which surprised me. Just come as close as you can. But that's another perfect example of more and more money being poured away. People are frustrated and upset that they're not getting value for this. Brian, at a time that you can barely afford a steak at the store.
Yeah. One of the things that struck me watching that council meeting from the 17th of November was Ted Clugston, mm-hmm. and how he was comparing how things were done when he was in charge and how things are today. And there is a big difference there. Do you see maybe something going back towards the old way, or do you see maybe there's going to be some politicking happening?
Well, politics is such a part of life, especially municipal council. So sure, there'll be some of that. But I'm glad to have Ted back. I'm glad to have Ted's expertise and his fiscal conservative values. Yeah, I mean, just because we did it 10 years ago doesn't mean it was wrong. Some of the smartest things were things that our grandparents did. So I would ask, the mayor and council when Ted or Bill Cox or Brian Varga or any idea that comes up that's good, respect it.
Yeah. What do you think the future of this council will be and our city the next 4 years?
The future of the city is bright. I mean, we're the best place to live. People, weather. I wonder about our location. Sure, we're not in that major artery between Edmonton and Calgary, or even south of it like Lethbridge is, but we're on two busy highways. We're next door to Saskatchewan, which is really a large part of Medicine Hat. So the future of Medicine Hat is bright. Council, council will. I'm cheering for them. I'm hoping that they are able to remember what tens of hundreds of Medicine Hatters just told us at the doors. And in my case, 5,100 people voted for me that believed in a 3-year property tax increase freeze, believed in reasonable, manageable growth of 2,000 to 3,000 people per year, no development levies, and believed in, Medicine Hat coming up with a way to help the homeless, but holding vagrancy and criminal activity accountable.
They do have a lot to do over the next 4 years, and I'm pretty sure that you and I will be watching from the sidelines with our popcorn. And going, I don't know about that, but
and let's talk about that for a sec. I was surprised that the turnout in the election was only 37%. Now, my goodness, I heard Lethbridge was 20%.
Yeah.
It's always odd to me that federal election will have about 75% turnout. Yeah, it's crucial who runs Canada. But Ottawa's a long way away from here. Provincial election, a good turnout will be about 55%. But in municipal, the opportunity to be involved and shape your city, I'm surprised that the turnout wasn't higher. I heard some frustration with some long lineups. I heard some frustrations with how hard it was to know where to vote. It's one of the reasons I'm cheering for you guys here at Bring Back the Porch. We're in kind of a media desert right now, with losing chat after all those years of good communication. We need some ways to get the word out for all Medicine Hatters.
Well, we will do what we can with the resources that we have because, like everybody else, funding is limited. I'm sure that we'll talk again, Drew.
Brian, thank you very much. I so appreciate your time.
Thank you.